All right, race fans, Ryan Eho here, and the one and only dapper-looking Bert Lehman in the Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants garb there. You're looking pretty sporty there, Bert.
Oh, thank you.
How's that? All right, that's not intended that way. Let's relax just a little bit here. All right, how are things going over in eastern Wisconsin?
Going good. Very good weather over here. I shouldn't say this, but there's not any R word in the forecast for like the next week.
Yeah, we don't want to jinx anything. It's Memorial Day weekend. There's a ton of racing coming up, so we'll just stop that right there. We're actually we're doing the show this week on Tuesday. I actually got to go up visit my parents, which I don't get to do anywhere near often enough. And I'm like, let's see, I can go for a 4-wheeler ride with my dad and hang out with my mom, or I can do the show. I love everybody. I do. I love racing, right? But I had to spend some time with the family. So that came first. So we're doing this. We're a day behind. So bear with us on that one. Excuse me. I'm up here in Superior, Bert, at the terminal, Superior, Wisconsin, and it is windy. The wind is whipping off of Lake Superior. It's like maybe 50 degrees. It's supposed to be down in the low 40s here tonight. So I'm looking to get the heck out of it.
Yeah, tomorrow we're supposed to have a high of like 60 degrees here. So that cold front is moving through your area right now and it's heading our way.
It sounds like it. So episode 178 on this week's show, right? We're going to have, like everything said, we're going to start out with hot laps. Maybe a donkey award or two in there, Bert. We'll get to that, right? Top 5 moments of the week. Some fan feedback. Really good questions from some fans this week. Little who's hot, who's not. Our weekly pick'ems, bold predictions. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to one of our friends of the show here, great sponsor of ours, Zeuli's Race Engines. You know, if you can't beat them, join them, right? I know you have a list there of some people that actually won races here in Zeuli. Now, keep in mind, we're just getting started. We're into May, 1 weekend. Not everybody's racing yet, but how many people won here this week just in Zeuli stuff?
You want me to read the list?
Yeah, read it off there for everybody.
All right, we have Tucker Peterson, 3 for Justin Vogel.
Little Wolverine himself.
Jeff Nowak or Wack.
Nowak, yeah.
Wack, okay. 2 for Rob Petroff. 2 for Casey Usadis.
Yep.
1 for Andy Fitzgerald. And 1 for Colton Schuler.
Yeah, that's quite a list, Bert. That's just in a short little stint over this past weekend. But guess what? All season long, that list is going to grow bigger and bigger. Why? Because he builds performance. He builds fast race engines. You want to win, you need a good mill underneath the hood. That's what they have to offer. Now, not only are you going to win races, but you're going to see a lot of championships won because they also build dependability. So Zeuli's Race Engines, if you can't beat them, you better join them. So, Bert, let's jump over to our first segment here. We'll start with a little hot laps. And what people are wondering, what the heck is hot laps? This is kind of a new deal we started last week. Well, we don't have time. You know, we'd be here for 18 hours if we gave you stats and everything that happened over the weekend. My goodness, there was a ton of racing. But we're gonna give you a little snippets, a few little highlights of what stuck out maybe over in eastern Wisconsin, what stuck out here over in like Wissota country, so to speak. But Bert, let's go ahead and start with you. Let's jump into some eastern Wisconsin highlights. What do you have for everybody?
Well, is Dirt Kings racing in western Wisconsin considered eastern?
I got a little something to touch on there, but that's your neck of the woods there. Have at her.
Well, the Dirt Kings tour, they got their season underway. Their season was supposed to kick off at Shawano Speedway, but those first few weeks got postponed. But anyway, they got their season started at Red Cedar Speedway. And it was, what memorial race was it? I forgot.
Stiding Memorial. Yeah, he's no love for the Western Wisconsin.
No, that's not it.
I get it. I love the Western Wisconsin drivers. Bert doesn't. It's clear. I get it. Just kidding.
So, and I believe they had 29 late models there.
Yeah, right
Um,
around 30. Right around
yeah.
30. Pretty decent count. We're gonna get into that just a second
Okay.
here.
All
But
right.
pretty
But
decent count considering.
yeah, AJ Demel, he repeated as the winner of this race because he won last year's race also. And Nick Avalink finished second. It was a good run for Nick.
Where did he start, Bert?
He started 12th. So, I mean,
He
it was a really
started
good
12th.
run.
Yeah, and not only started 12th, he got in a second. Demel had half a straightaway or better, and he tracked him down. He was in position. And I don't know if Nick is kind of smart, right? So I don't see him kind of throwing a haymaker slider and nerfing the guy that actually helps build his race cars. Probably pretty good choice. I think Nick had the better car at the end of that race, though. I really do.
Yeah, he did track down AJ at the end. So yeah, but like you said, he wasn't gonna throw a haymaker on AJ. They're best friends from when they were kids, and
He's
although
scared. Really, he's scared. AJ just a little guy. He's kind of a little Sally looking thing. So I don't know why. I mean, just rough him up. Not like he can do anything about it.
so it was good to see Nick have a good run. So overall, I thought the racing was good there.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. Pretty good show. And I know you had some stuff that actually happened in Eastern Wisconsin. So what else?
Pretty much. Excuse me. Pretty much every track in Eastern Wisconsin now is open, I believe. The only exception would be, some of the tracks in northern Wisconsin that are kind of on the eastern side of the state. Like, I don't think Tomahawk is open yet, and Eagle River, I don't think they've opened yet either. But at Channel Speedway, Ron Berna got the late model feature win. Started on the front row, and he got the win. Brett Swedberg finished second, and then Nick Avalink was third. It was a different track than last week because last week it took rubber and everybody was fighting for the bottom by the tires. This week during intermission, they watered the top side pretty good, and it was a top heavy track, so everybody was fighting to race on the top. So hopefully they can find the happy medium. I mean, there were two lanes of racing, so it's not like it was only one lane, but they're working towards it, and I thought it was good racing. There's a pretty wicked crash in the one of the IMCA Sport Mod heat races, and I'm sure we'll probably show the video on here. And some cars got together on the restart of the race, and one car got up in the air a little bit, rolled over, and thought, whoa, there's a roller. And then all of a sudden another car comes barrel rolling down the front stretch, and he came to a stop on his wheels. Luckily nobody was injured. Max Oreskovic, he was the one who barrel rolled down the front stretch. He had to roll over, I would say, at least 3 times. And it's, well, not funny, but I was talking to Max's dad during intermission because I make die casts of that car every year. And so I asked, and you got to know somebody before you can ask a question like this.
Well, maybe. It depends how bold you are. Right?
But I asked him, do you want a race used version of this car? He goes, of this car? He goes, I don't think you could bend the die cast enough. But he basically said the car's probably junk. The tail was bent, the halo was bent, the motor mounts were broke. So
that was a pretty wicked one for sure. I mean, the main thing is safety equipment's come a long way, right?
Right.
So I mean, that's
right,
pretty cool.
Right. And then it was a special event for the 4-cylinder class. Normally the 4-cylinders that they race for like $100 to win. So it was originally scheduled for $500 to win, and then the day of the races on Saturday, 1 or 2 sponsors threw in another $500, so it was $1,000 to win in the 4-cylinder division. Plus, I had collected money for lap leader for lap leaders for each lap. So there was over $600 some collected for lap leader money, because each lap, one lap was $86 if they let it, another one was $57, some were $20. And so the winner, Tanner Westfall, who won the race, he also led the final 11 laps of the race. So he got another $400 some. So he made over $1,400 in one night of racing, when they normally race for $100 to win.
Yeah, I'm thinking he was probably pretty happy with that.
Yeah, he's won the last 3 track championships at Shawano in the 4-cylinder division, and he's won the first 2 weeks at Shawano. So I don't want to jinx him, but
Better stop talking.
He's doing pretty good. Let's just say that.
Well, let's jump over into Wissota country. Before we do, little shout out here, Impact Health Sharing. If you're self-employed, if you have a business and you have employees, if you pay for your own health insurance, right, and you feel like, man, I'm paying too much, this is getting ridiculous, hit me up, 218-969-1380. Shoot me a text, whatever you want to do. I'll get you a quote. Been able to bring people's costs down by over half in a lot of cases. So we'll see if we can keep some money in your pocket rather than giving it to your insurance guy. I promise you'll be more happy spending it on things like, I don't know, racing or, fun stuff like that, right? So before I forget, last week, one of our race of the week last week, Bert, was the street stock feature over at the Devil's Playground, Devil's Lake Speedway. 27 total cars this week, Bert. 27. It's baffling to me, right? Now, I've seen some
in all divisions combined.
27.
How many divisions?
4 divisions. Rice Lake had more Midwest mods than they had total cars, right? And here's what I don't get. That track is racy. It's good, but it's in the middle of nowhere. So it's painful, right? So location. There's people out in the field farming, and there's different things going on, but they just don't have a big pool of people. On the flip side of that, Deer Creek Speedway opened up this past weekend. Bert, I think they had 5 classes at Deer Creek. How many cars do you think they had at their opening night?
144.
174. Unbelievable. I would argue that might be too many, right? You'd be there all freaking night with 174 cars. But
we had this discussion last week when Seymour had 194.
We did. So kind of a big variance in location is key, right? But let's talk late models. You mentioned, of course, the Wabam Dirt King Series opener at the Red Cedar Speedway. This past weekend, Bert, they had the structural buildings with Wissota Late Model Challenge Series Friday and Saturday. They had the repairable vehicles Tri-State Late Model Series Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Dirt Kings, right? That was Friday. And then literally the day before, so last Thursday, Pat Capella owns KME. This guy spent a lot of money. I mean, he's very sharp. He has some inventions out there that really, I believe that's kind of where the money came from, is some of the engineering mind that this guy has. And I don't want to say the number, but let's say that his budget was really high, right? For how much money? He owns several race cars. Well, he decided, you know what? I live up in northern Minnesota. I work quite a bit. I don't necessarily want to travel all over the place. I want my guys to race at my local tracks. He wants to support Gondiclaw Speedway, Hibbing Raceway, Halberline Speedway at Proctor. The day before, so Thursday, he decides, you know what? I'm going to take 20 grand of my own money and I'm going to make my own point fund, 10,000 to win, 5,000 for second, and so on. Top 5 get paid. And I'm just going to, don't need anything to gain out of it. I'm going to give it to the drivers. I was wondering, a couple drivers up in the area, what was Jeffrey Massengill going to do? Was he going to stay for that kind of money, or was he going to go to the Challenge Series? He went to the Challenge Series. Kyle Peterman, he decided he's going to go to the Challenge Series. The one guy that really stayed, that was fully committed to go to the Challenge Series, Kevin Burdick. Burdick was going to go to Fergus and the Ogilvy. He decided, you know what? I can race for the same kind of money right here at home, and literally the furthest track for me is going to be about 70 miles, maybe. Good financial decision on his part. He actually won the opening night of that deal. So how that works, Bert, is they take accumulated points from all late model events at Superior, Hibbing, and Proctor, and they combine all those points. And at the end of the year, the high point driver wins. So you got to attend all three. Not going to be tons of drivers doing it, a handful, 5, maybe 6 doing it. But Burdick has a legit shot. Danny Vang, Harry Hansen, Derek Vessel, Van House, forgetting somebody, I'm sure. But there's only a handful that are going to do that. So another thing that happened, Bert, more teching drama in Superior. Can you believe it?
I can believe it, but how can that be?
It has become painfully obvious that Mike Belfi is the least favorite kid in the family. Okay? Because his dad DQ'd him. DQ'd him. Absolutely DQ'd him after the feature. You know what he got DQ'd for? Not going to the scale. So, I'm torn on this, okay? Initially in my mind, it is a straight up donkey award to Mike Belfi. You've been racing for however long, you win races, you're a contender, you should know better, right? But on the flip side, and I tried to find this out and I never really could. On the scoreboard, the scoreboard was messed up all night long, right? Literally, they had a driver posted in the top 5 that didn't even make a freaking lap in the feature. So he's like, I got 6th. I'm not on the board. Don't need a scale. Pulled off, went back to his trailer. When in doubt, go to the scale, right? But on the flip side, I talked to a representative of the Speedway, and that representative said, here's the deal. I don't believe that back in the day, I remember Debbie, she was the scorer at our racetracks, and she would be, okay, top 5 to the scales, and she'd read off the numbers, right? She'd be like 30, 17, 16, 21, 7, top 5 to the scales. She'd read them all off. I can only assume that if he did not go to the scale, they must not do that anymore.
That's a good assumption because, yeah, I mean, if they read off your number and you don't scale, well, yeah, that's bad. But yeah, I mean, they have race receivers, so why, if they're not reading off who should scale, why aren't they reading off who should scale?
Lazy. That's why. So instead of giving this donkey award to Mike, it's going to be a co-donkey award. You're going to have to share this, not with your dad. He's just doing his job. You're going to share it with Joe Staria, Don the Class Speedway race director. Joe, I don't know if it's you or if it's somebody involved with the track that's supposed to be doing this. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So if you did this, let me know. I'll take it on the chin on the next show. But for God's sakes, take the 30 seconds and read off the drivers at the end of the race that are supposed to go to the scales, okay? Now, here's the deal. If they did that and Mike didn't go to the scales, he's getting double donkey award, okay? Bert, I went as far as I took a screenshot on Google Earth of the Superior Speedway, and I put scales, and I drew a circle. And then I said, you got a dickhead friend that's going to remind you of this next week, okay? So next race. So at Ogilvy, I did the same thing. Took an overview picture. Dan helped me with it. drew where the scales were. I said, don't forget to scale. There's Ryan's daily reminder right there, right? And he goes, thanks for the reminder, but I actually legit got 6th in the heat, so there was no scaling for the 21 here tonight. So, yeah, tough break for Mike. The challenge series. We're going to get into a couple things. One thing that stuck out to me, Bert, defending champ Cole Searing opted to not go to the challenge series. He opted to go to the tri-state races. Okay.
Well, you were wondering about that on last show, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. And I was wondering, is he going to stay local? Is he going to go try? I didn't know where he was going to go. Well, Bert, it was 5,000 to win Friday at Fergus. It was 1,500 to win. He did win, right? But it's 1,500 to win. I don't know. It kind of surprised me, I guess, that he opted to go to the tri-state. And then I'm thinking in my mind, is he going to follow the tri-state series, try to win that championship? Because it's not far from him. I don't know if he broke or just decided not to, but he didn't race Sunday. So evidently he's not racing for anything. So for the challenge series, a little bit disappointing that the reigning champ ain't there. But I mean, when you look at it, right? in every region. Plus, there was regular night races at some tracks too, right? Hibbing had late models. Cedar Lake had late models. There's only so many late models to go around. I mean, and
Cedar Lake had
Wausoda,
late models too.
they did. G.O.A.T won over there.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now, and they don't care. They're like this. They don't. I'm not saying they hate each other, Ogilvy and Cedar, but let's just say they don't typically work together, right? So I was very surprised because I'm thinking in my mind, you're going to have G.O.A.T and them. I figured they'd go to Ogilvy for the Challenge Series. Well, they went and raced regular race over there at Cedar. So I found that interesting.
Well, and I mean, this isn't anything too special, but I took notice of it right away, just because I'm a freak, I guess. But when I was tuning in for the Challenge Series feature at Ogilvy, their intro song that they played is the same intro song that they play every year at the USA Nationals.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I wonder. So Chris is one of the co-announcers usually at the. I wonder if that's his playlist.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if
it
was on purpose or they just like that song, but yeah, it was a Saliva. So the song is by Saliva. That's the band name, and I mean, because the USA Nationals has been playing that song for like 10 years when they do their driver intros. And so, I mean, I picked up on that right away.
We'll get into a couple highlights there of who won a little bit later in the show here, but there were just a couple thoughts there. Modifieds, I guess my overall thoughts of the modifieds, Bert, the young guns are looking really good. Really good. Brady Utenan, second generation driver. He was good in the Midwest mod. Okay. He jumped up into an A mod. Of course, Al Utenan won tons of races and championships throughout his career. Brady Utenan, his first two nights, Bert, he had a legit shot to win his first night out in Superior. Sobraski snuck by him late. Then he went down to Ogilvy, pretty good field of cars down in Ogilvy, and he held off a couple hard chargers, Wagaman, and he held off Sobraski in his second night in a Wausoda A-Mod. Boom, already got win number one, and it was impressive. He looks sporty. Jake Smith, your reigning, or I guess defending, reigning, whatever, Wausoda Midwest Mod champion. He won a feature already. He won at Granite. He won there on Sunday. Kennedy Swanbert, two podiums. 16-year-old girl in an A mod. I'll be honest. I'm like, one more year in a B mod, probably going to be a pretty good idea. 2 podiums already for Kennedy Swan. Pretty impressive. Justin Fremming, he only had a handful of shows in an A mod last year. Super impressive. Young guy. He won at Viking this week. Caden Blazer, 14-year-old Bert, 14 years old in an A mod. He already has 2 wins on the year and a second place finish behind Buzzy. That kid's going to be good. So the modified contingent is strong.
Where is he from?
He's from over by Chippewa Falls area. Okay. Yep. Okay. His dad is Todd Blazer. Okay, and Caden, 2 wins at Jimtown, won a second over there at Race Lake. Super stocks. All you got to say is this. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. I won't go on, right? But I'm telling you right now, the dominant driver in Wausoda Super Stocks comes from north of the border. 15 for 15 at home last year. Everybody's like, yeah, but I mean, it's Thunder Bay. They only had 10 cars, whatever. Well, his last 4 visits to the States, Bert, 8th to 2nd at the Red Clay Classic to end the season last year. And then he had 3 straight wins to open up the season, beating people like Dexton Cook, Shane Sobraski, all their rowdy friends. Ternosky strong. Shane Sobraski, a little MIA. Of course, 71. Trevor Nelson, dominant in South Dakota, pair of wins. Rice Lake. We're going to go ahead and talk about that one in just a minute here. Did I send you that video? Did you see that?
I did not watch a video from Rice Lake.
I should have sent you that clip. There's a little.
You may have sent it to me, but
if I didn't,
I may have overlooked it.
Big drama with a couple of heavy hitters at Rice Lake. Midwest Mods. So this one here, I got a text message from a driver, Nick G.O.A.T. 2 wins this weekend. 2 wins. Hell, I think he only won like 1 or 2 last year. 2 wins already. Then he rolls over. He rolled over at Cedar. He's sitting down on his window net. Car starts on fire. He's like, I want a donkey award to the safety crew at the Cedar Lake Speedway. I'm like, noted. I like giving donkey awards. So I went and looked at it, and it doesn't show because, Dirt Race Central, they kind of have the camera mostly away from an accident scene.
Yeah.
But when they showed it, his car's on fire, and I wasn't there. I didn't see it. This is from him, that a driver had to actually run a fire extinguisher down to the fire crew that was literally standing around the car like they were at a bonfire. What the hell is that? Right? So, track promoters, are your safety crews truly trained to handle a situation like this, right? I mean, Bert, there's a lot of tracks out there that don't have an ambulance at it, right? There's tracks out there this weekend that we're looking for, man, we just need to have an EMT. We ain't got an ambulance. We need an EMT. We need somebody there. Fire happens. They don't even know what to do. I mean, we've seen cars burn down. I mean, we're talking, they'll penalize you for the dumbest thing. Oh, wheel sticker fell off the car. You're disqualified. You're going to disqualify me for not having a sticker. Your dumbass don't even have a safety crew that knows what they're doing. What are we talking about here? So the tracks that you go to in eastern Wisconsin, do they all have pretty well trained? Do they have a fire crew on staff, fire extinguishers, fire truck, maybe ambulance, EMTs? I mean, has there been incidents over there at all?
For the most part, I think most of the tracks that I go to, they have, all tracks in eastern Wisconsin, I do believe they have ambulances on site for the races. I know Shawano Speedway has a fire crew. They didn't always have one, but I would say within the last 10, 15 years, they added a fire crew. Now, there's actually, it's not a fire truck, but it's like a pickup truck, and then it's filled with fire extinguishers in the bed of the pickup truck. And the fire crew, they're actually wearing fire, like a fireman, the attire that a fireman would wear,
Right.
Fire resistant jacket and whatnot. And I'm not positive about the other tracks if they have a fire crew on site or not.
So in all fairness, they do have a fire crew at Cedar. They're all fire equipment, they're wearing all that. And like I said, I couldn't see the whole video because it didn't fan towards it. But based on, the feedback that I got from him and a couple of people I did talk to, they said it wasn't good. If that fire would have been bad, it could have been really, really ugly deal. The flames, there was fluid leaking. It kind of got up in his cockpit. And let's face it, when you're in a fire, you're gonna freaking. A second feels like 2 minutes.
Right.
Right. That's probably the biggest fear most racers have is of being on fire. So hopefully it's a learning experience. But for God's sake, racetracks, sanctioning bodies, right? WISSOTA, talk to the tracks. Maybe there should be some kind of a training. Nothing that's mandatory because you don't want liability there. But maybe have somebody to offer up different training, how to handle situations, because things happen fast and we don't need to be, seeing people get hurt, lose their lives, whatever, because of lack of training and just lack of knowing what they're doing. So glad he's okay. Sounds like he's right. That's a big thing. So Bert, let's go ahead and jump on to our top 5 moments.
Well, before we get to the top 5, you're talking about DQing. There was a DQ at Shawano Speedway. In the 4-cylinder division, there was a driver who doesn't normally race at Shawano who came for the money, and he led the first 9 laps, so he would have got like $340 some or whatnot. But after the race, he was deemed illegal. So then the lap leader money went to the driver who was in second place for those laps. So if you're going to a track you don't normally race at, make sure you know what the rules are and make sure your car is legal.
And make sure to get it in writing. If you're not sure, make sure they actually document it, because I've seen track
Right.
promoters go, well, yeah, you like that Fergie deal last year with the tire, right? Down south, he won that 20 grand to win race, or 30 or whatever it was, and said, yeah, we talked to the track promoter, everything was all good. We get there, we finally were there, we win the race, and they tell us like later on that night, yeah, you're disqualified. Wait, what? Like, so you might want to get it in text message form or in writing that your car is legit, because that's kind of a bummer. So our top 5 storylines, I guess, moments of the week, because they're not all moments, but brought to you by our friends right here. And Bert's got the garb on, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. Going to have some cool testimonials here the next week, Bert, because drivers are sick and tired of paying astronomical amounts for tires. We got a little, we're going to kind of pick on Hoosier a little bit later in the show. But so Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So Buck is actually the founder of this company. He's in the Hall of Fame, the NASA Hall of Fame for lubricants. The guy's way smarter than me, I promise. Like, he knows what he's doing when it comes to lubricants, right? I'll just take his word for it. But they have a lot of different stuff, a lot of stuff that goes into engines, gears, all that type of stuff, assembly lube. But their big one right now, Bert, is for tires. They have a cleaning product, right, that literally that'll get the release agent out of the tires, get the crap out of the tires that ain't supposed to be in there. That's not a big deal. You can run that. That is like you're just washing the tire. The other products are tire treatment to help fill them voids back in. Now, why would a person want to treat their tires? So you can run them more than once, right? They've said, oh man, it'll kill the life of the tire if you're treating tires. Okay. Well, some products will. This is not one of them. Some products will. But the fact is, you can't get a whole lot less nights on a tire than one. So I mean, there is that. I mean, that's just kind of saying, right? So if you're in that realm right now and you're like, look, I'm a hobby racer. I'm not going to spend $150, $160 on a tire every single night or a couple tires. I'm not doing it. And if you want to run your tires longer, if you want more life out of your tires and still be competitive, give Chad a call. His number, 507-828-3536. Again, 507-828-3536. Do yourself a favor, give him a call, get educated, find out if this is something that can help you keep running your product, still go out there and have fun at the racetrack each and every week. So with that said, Bert, let's jump on to number 5. And for our boy, Brad, we're going to start with NASCAR, because kind of show me the money, right?
Young Money says, show me the money. He actually did this on top of the car after the All-Star race. He was
really?
Show me the money. It reminded me of the quarterback that got drafted in the NFL and flamed out. I can't remember his name now, but
Johnny Football, was that?
Yeah, Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Manziel. When he got drafted, he went like that, and then he fizzled out and never.
Incidentally, Kyle Larson doesn't look like he's fizzling out.
No, he's not fizzling out. He had a pretty good week. He won his sprint car race for his series. And then he won the NASCAR Truck Series on Saturday night, and then he won the NASCAR All-Star race on Sunday night, and with that came $1 million. So he had a pretty good week. And
I heard he's a cheater.
His wife did chug a beer.
I heard he's a cheater. I think didn't Bubba Wallace say something about him being a cheater? And
yeah, I didn't hear the comment, but yeah, I don't know if he said it in jest or if he was serious or what to do. You never know with Bubba.
Yeah, no kidding. So number 4, the Double One Express, Pat Dorr denies young gun Josh Zimpel. So Pat Dorr has I think he has 4 straight maybe Fall Classic wins at Ogilvy. He's pretty good there. He's pretty good at Ogilvy. But Josh Zimpel went down to Arizona for a couple different times over the winter and was impressive. The eye test was like, holy shit, this kid's legit, he's fast. I mean, he's rolling the corner good. I think he's going to contend. He's going to win some races. Andy Jones in that race at Ogilvy got the lead early, right? There's another young guy, right? He's ran about everything, good race car, good family name in racing. He looked really good. Yellow comes out, and then he just he just didn't fire the same. He had really good mojo going before that yellow. Josh Simple gets out to the lead in his super smooth last lap. Pat Dorr steals it from him. And Pat literally got out of his car, walked right over to him, shook his hand, said, "Hey, great race, kid." So I mean, Pat realized, hey, this young kid right here drove a hell of a race. So Josh Simple, tip of the cap to you. That was a great race. But Pat Dorr showing he's still the man. Pat Dorr's still the man.
I was a little surprised, and maybe it's the inexperience with Zimpel. Because I think if he stays on the bottom, Dorr doesn't get him, but he left the door open on the bottom, and that's where Dorr was the strongest, was on the bottom.
He left the door open for Dorr. Yeah. No, you're right, Bert. And, the fact is that comes with experience. I mean, even in the Super he ran for quite a few, handful of years here, he doesn't have a ton of races. He didn't race a lot of shows. So, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of experience, and for sure, he doesn't have a lot of experience leading, getting through lap traffic. That's going to come, right? The car control's there. The presence of where to be on the track. The car's working good, rotates, got really good balance. The rest of that comes with time. I mean, I guarantee Pat Dorr over his career probably gave a couple away the same way.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's one of those things where he even said, "Hey, I'm happy with this. Second place with this group of field on this stage, lost to Pat Dorr, not a big deal." But you're spot on, though. That was the experience outweighing the inexperience in lap traffic. So Pat Dorr, hell of a run at the Big O. Great racing there, Bert. I want a little shout out there to the folks at Ogilvy. I was skeptical. I'm like, late models are hard to prep for. I mean, not that they haven't had late model shows, but all the races at Ogilvy, all of them, all the features, really good. So great job to the crew at the Big O. Bert, number 3.
Double.
Donnie Shots, RTJ, are them. So I was kind of looking. I didn't look probably as hard as I should have, right? But this year, has there been any World of Outlaw sprint car driver or Lucas driver that is doubled up on a given weekend? I mean, obviously, Speed Weeks, a few of them won, but RTJ and Shots. I mean, there hasn't been many double up, deals in Shots. I mean, it was only 2-3 weeks ago. We're like, maybe it's just not hungry anymore.
Well, and RTJ doubling up, that doesn't necessarily shock you, but the way Shots' season was going, him winning a race, we would have been, giving him a lot of praise, and then to double up the same weekend, because like you said, it was only a few weeks ago where he was on our not hot list and we were questioning him. So I'm still waiting for that check with the percentage of the winnings to show up in my mailbox, because every time
100%. Yeah, I mean that's I'm not going to say that we get all the credit. 90% probably would be a fair assessment. So Tony Stewart Motorsports, Donnie Shots, anybody affiliated with those teams, text me. We'll get the address sent out. We'll let you know who to make the check to. We would like our cut for this. Number 2, Bert, fireworks at the old Rice Lake Speedway. Coming in, so they had makeup features, right? Coming into the main event for the Wissota Super Stocks, Kurt Myers had a pair of wins on the week. He won at Jimtown, and he won. He had 2 wins. He had 2 wins coming to the week. So, he won at Jimtown and he won the makeup feature, is what he won. So he won at Jim Falls in the makeup feature. Karen Spacek won a Menominee, and then he ends up getting the win for this one as well. So he got 2 wins on the weekend. They take the white flag, right? And Kurt Myers, both of these two, very accomplished race car drivers. They both won a lot of races, specials. Myers got national championships. They take the white flag. Myers is on the bottom. Spacek rolls right next to him down the front straightaway. They come into 1 and 2. Myers was right on the tires, right? He's right on the bottom, rotating the tires. Spacek rolls right back around him. They're side by side down the back straightaway, and I think maybe Kurt Meyer's blinker stuck, because I think he had the right blinker on and the car just took off to the right, and he absolutely land blasted Terrence Spacek into the concrete in the middle of the back straightaway. Destroyed the car. Junk. Needs a new car. I mean, it just totaled it out. Yeah. And there was like, no, I texted Taryn. I said, "Are you out of jail yet? Do I got to talk to you on Monday?" He's like, "No, nobody went to jail. You know, it is, you know, it is what it is." Keep in mind, come to find out, Terrence Spacek has a TRC by Myers. Just that's kind of interesting all by itself. You know, I would have to think that was not intentional, right? Like I said, blinker probably stuck. I'm guessing. I don't really know what happened, but when you look at the videotape, when you look at the clip that we're playing here, it looked mega intentional. Like maybe he didn't intend to stuff him through the concrete, right? But he definitely tried to pinch him into the fence. I mean, I don't know. So I haven't heard all the suspensions and fines and all that. He got DQ'd. Spacek got the win. Lot deal. Last I heard is Myers is getting 2 weeks off from Rice Lake. He's like, whatever, I'll just go to Ashland or won't race Saturdays or kid will race or whatever, right? Or he'll run some USRA model, whatever it is. But let me ask you this: when it's something where a guy just flat out stuffs somebody in the fence, should penalties be levied, right? Because you have some people calling for he needs a WISSOTA suspension. That should be a year ban. That should be 30 days ban, right? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you know 100% sure that it was intentional, then yeah, I would agree. You know, suspensions and punishment. But if you don't know if it was intentional or if it was honestly just a mistake or a racing deal, it's hard to suspend somebody for making a mistake on the track or a racing deal. Like I said, I haven't seen the video, so I don't know. But I mean, if it's intentional, I say punishment is warranted. But that's the tough thing. How do you prove that even if it looks intentional, maybe it's not intentional. I don't know.
Get him on a podcast. I mean, like,
yeah, you got to get Denny Hamlin. And have him talk about it.
Yeah, I tell you, that was an interesting deal. I mean, nobody got hurt. It sounds like he's getting the old car back out. Thank God he still has it, so he's gonna race the old car. He's got to get a new one. Not sure if it's still going to be a TRC by Myers or what that's going to be.
That's one way to sell cars.
Right. But that's two top drivers right there. Both of them win a bunch of races. And, I mean, that's one of those deals where back in the olden days, there would have been fist flying in the pits, right? There would have been, somebody would have been like eating through a straw at the end of that. I'm just saying, that's just, things have changed in recent years. I'd like to see him do that to, I don't know if his dad was ever quite as feisty, but Uncle Jeff, right? Kurt Meyer stuffed Jeff Spacek into the fence. There might be post-race activities. That might get kind of ugly.
Well, I mean, speaking of fights and stuff, I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with WISSOTA, but I did see on Facebook at some track down south, there's a huge altercation in the pits, and two guys were fighting in the pits, and they were rolling on the ground, and then one guy had the shirt pulled up over the other guy, and there were like 20 cop cars there, and
that's it. And why call the cops? Let them go break it up. You don't need to call the cops. I mean, that's been happening for years. We've seen that happen a lot of tracks. Sometimes it's warranted, like Team X says, right? Fear equals respect. Now, just saying, right? So we're going to find out. We'll follow up on this. If there's any more penalties that are levied here for the old 1M, we will let everybody know. Somebody said, well, maybe he didn't see them because it's so dark. When you look at the videos, it's like lights are optional. I don't know if they're going to need headlights on the cars over there. Lighting at Rice Lake is not real good, but I don't think that was fine.
Does he wear glasses? Does he have the Lance Matthews glasses?
Yeah, he smokes like a chimney, right? So maybe he was doing the Dick Trickle smoking, smoke got in his eyes last lap. He's like, I'm leading, white flag, gonna pull out the cigarette, have a victory cigarette right there. The old ashtray himself, they call him. So maybe smoke got in his eyes and he couldn't see. I don't know. Right. We'll see if we can get him on a podcast maybe and find out. So number one, Bert. Sword plays the competition. Bryce Sword. I'm telling you, all this kid does win big races. Last year, Bert, one win. That's all he had. One win last year in the late model. You know what it was? Dakota Rumble for 10,000 to win. If you're going to pick one to win, that's a pretty good one, right? Right. 5,000 to win at the Challenge Series opener at the I-94 EMR Speedway in Fergus, and he goes topside, drove by Daryl Nelson like he was broke, and thumped him. Young kid. I think I don't know. He can't be 20. Pretty sure he's not 20. I'm not exactly sure. He's pretty young, but he was absolutely lights out bolted on the high side at Fergus. You watched that race. Your thoughts?
I didn't see the whole thing. I saw part of it. But yeah, he definitely looks strong. And I did see the tail end of his interview, and he does look very young. So I'm not sure how old he is, but it's good to see. Well, I mean, look at the WISSOTA Challenge Series over the weekend. You had him win, young guy, and then you had Dorr win the other race, a wily veteran. So I mean, that's
right.
That's good for the sport.
And it was almost two young guys. It was almost two, right? So he was super impressive. Nice kid. I've talked to him a handful of times. He's a nice kid. Great to see, like you said, them young guns, modifieds, all the classes right now. Some of them young drivers really, really showing out. So as on the fan side of us, that like bodes well for the next handful of years here. So let's jump into a little fan feedback, Bert. But first, a shout out to buyraceshirts.com. If you need hats, shirts, hoodies, banners, apparel, jackets, you name it, right? Go to buyraceshirts.com. For racers, by racers. Of course, Jordan is a racer himself. Jordan Tollickson. They have Outlaw Graphics down there. Lots of different ways you can buy shirts. You can buy big quantities, small quantities. Lots of different ways you can do it. Get all the information at buyraceshirts.com. So, Brad asked a question here. We talk about it all the time. You hear they might have a driver come into the announcer's booth. They talk about it. Maybe the announcer talks about it. And they're talking about track conditions, right? They're like, as a fan, you're kind of watching. And, we've gone through this with multiple people. Like I've talked to Puka, and he knows mostly what the track conditions are. But in the stands, it's really hard to tell the difference between, like, say, black slick, right, and rubber down, or marbles, or if it's tacky or a little slimy, you can't tell the difference. So sometimes as a racer, you can see something happen and be like, yeah, they slipped out of the rubber. And they're like, well, what do you mean? The whole track's black. What are you talking about? It all looks the same to me, right? So he's like, can you just give us a little crash course on the different, how to tell the difference, right? So slime and stick, slime and mud, right, and stick. A lot of times, Bert, you'll see a car come in on the bottom, like on a freshly misted track, and they'll lose the nose, right? They'll come in, the car will shove up the track, greasy, slimy, muddy. That's no good. People are like, well, put some water on the track. When you water clay, it turns to grease. It's not a good thing, right? That's why you got to pack it in. And Bert, have you ever been a fan in the stands going, holy shit, how many freaking laps are we going to pack? Let's just get the race started already. What are we doing, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that, and then when you do pack, you pack for several laps before the race starts, and within 2 laps, it's all, back to where it was before you started packing.
And that's clay. Clay's
right.
The worst. Certain types of materials ain't so bad, but clay, it goes from greasy to marbling, right? So slime is no good, but sticky, right? When they say it's hammered down or it's got some grip, some traction, right? That it kind of looks the same. I got a story on that. I remember going out to Red River Valley Speedway. It was a big half mile in Fargo. Went out there with a super. John Hinkemeyer said, look, when them guys lift, drive it in 2 car lengths further than them, and you'll drive right by them. They all lift early. I'm like, all right, I can do that. I go out there for hot laps, and they lift, and I poke that bitch in there in the turn 1. I'm like, shit. The car took off, and I pounded the wall in the middle of 1 and 2, right? Ripped the right front off, everything on the right front's junk, panhard bar, 2 wheels. I'm like, he's like, not in hot laps, it's still slimy. I'm like, it freaking looked the same. Like it's black dirt. It literally, the black dirt was like sticky, slimy. It all looked exactly the same to me. I'm like, he's like, yeah, it now in the heat race do the same thing. I'm like, yeah, bullshit. I don't know about all that, right? Well, I did, and it worked out good, but it was hard to tell. It was hard to tell greasy to sticky. So in a fan's perspective, it's really hard. Then you hear people say black slick, or they're like, man, I like when the track rubbers down. Fans will say that, and they'll be like, I want it to rubber down, because in their mind, they're like, when it gets black shiny all the way across, that means that black's obviously from rubber, so it's rubber down, right? No, no, that's black slick. So black slip is when there's like, you can watch the cars and they're tiptoeing and they're momentumed up, and you can tell if somebody gets out of balance a little bit, they kind of skate. That's dry. That's slippery. It's like literally like driving on ice. Rubber,
and the cars slow down in those.
Yes,
incredibly. When we get to the next part, the cars speed up.
Yes. So as it gets slipperier, the lap times, they get longer, right? The cars are going slower, but then all of a sudden the track looks the same, but then all of a sudden you see that dull area of the track, and if you're really a racer, you can kind of tell when it starts dulling up. Some people have a really good knack for this. Well, all of a sudden they hit that one groove, and they were kind of driving all over the track on the slippery, and all of a sudden it's like one lane is completely like dominant faster, and the lap times literally, I mean, they'll change as much as like 2 seconds or more on a bigger track, and they'll just get that much faster, and you'd be like, well, that guy found some grip. What'd they do? No, that's when the track took rubber. That is terrible, because that means it's one lane. Everybody has to be in that lane. We've seen it with big late model shows where they get in line and they're following the lapper around the track and the rubber, because if you get out of it, you're going to go straight backwards, and rubber like literally will melt all 4 tires. We've seen races where they come in and everybody's right rear's gone. That's rubber. Slick does not do that. So there's a huge difference between slick and rubber, and that would be the key. Anything you want to add on that?
No, I mean, you explained it pretty well. I mean, one of the things that I used to do when MJ raced was I would do lap times. I time his laps and then another car's laps. But, as in a feature, once if he got really fast and the other car got really fast, okay, the track's taking rubber. So, it's going to be one lane. And, if you're a fan watching a race, obviously we've talked about this, but if the cars just get in that one lane and don't get out of that lane for anything in the world, that means that the track's taking rubber. And if they get out of that lane, they're going to go backwards. I mean, actually, I talked about Shawano Speedway took rubber opening weekend, and last week they had a drivers meeting because they discussed the starting zone and restarts and stuff. They asked the drivers if they wanted to restart single file during, after a caution. And then, the driver said, well, that depends if the track takes rubber, yes, let's do single file. If it doesn't, then, we want to do double file. But, Nick, at the meeting, Nick Avalink made the comment that, for like 11 laps in the first feature of the year at Shawano, he ran wide open for like 11 laps. That's because the track took rubber.
So old Bloomquist actually he had that little podcast deal, or that roundtable deal they did down at Bulls Gap, and they were talking, him and I think Turbo was there, Strickler, and he said, there's nothing worse than when you're coming through the pack, you get up to like fourth, fifth, the bottom locks down, and you're like, we're screwed. You ain't gonna pass anybody. Little trick for everybody here. I want somebody to try this and then let me know that you did. When the bottom latches down, takes rubber, yellow comes out, right? Drive through the infield and spray on the parade lap, right? Go through the infield and just kind of dust up the whole bottom, right? Literally go around the bottom in both corners and just kind of wrap on it a little bit, spray the marbles right up on that rubber. Because when everybody else comes in at the bottom, then they're going to be on marbles, which is dust on top of slick, which makes it really slippery. You can roll a lane up, drive right by them. Bloomer said he did that a time or two. that's a good way to kind of get rid of that rubber on the bottom. I'm like, that is genius. I wish I would have thought of that. That would have been cool because I raced at some tracks that definitely latched. So Josh actually sent me a text here and he said, watch the Challenge Series, pretty good racing, decent car counts, not anything, extravagant, but pretty good car counts, pretty good caliber of cars. He goes, my top take from the Challenge Series was Dustin Sorensen took a step backwards in his racing career in 2023. It was all touted, right, that he was the new house car driver for MB. Last year, he wins the USMTS National Championship for $100,000. And now he's racing at 5,000 and 2,000 to win races, and the Challenge Series pays 10 grand. Your thoughts?
Well, I believe I conveyed this when we talked about this. I was surprised when he was announced as the driver taking over that ride, just simply from the fact that he had just won the USMTS championship and the money that went with it. And he had his own late model program going that, I mean, locally, he won some, especially at Mississippi Thunder, he won at least one, if not two, right, Dirt Kings races. And so, locally, he was doing all right in a late model. And so I was surprised when he was announced as that driver, just because I thought he would try to defend his championship in the USMTS. I mean, you can, that's a lot of money. And he proved that he could do it. So I was surprised by the move initially anyway. So and yeah, see, I mean, they're definitely struggling. There's no doubt about that.
Right. And if he was running that late model more on touring stuff, whether it was, sounds like they might run the Hell Tour, which would be good. But if they were following like Lucas, World of Outlaws, something like that, I can see it. But I mean, he's a hell of a race car driver. But you know who else is? Sam Mars. Sam Mars actually beat him the first night. He might have beat him the second night, but first night for sure he beat him. But yeah, that was it's an interesting point, right? Because he can race anything. He can win a late model. He can win in a mod, right? No doubt. But if you're already racing for $100 grand to win, is it really that big of a like? Oh man, congratulations! You got a ride now. You get to race for 10 grand instead of 100. I don't even know if he'll run the whole Challenge Series or if he'll be running, because there's two Challenge Series races that coincide with the Hell Tour. So it probably depends at that point how he's sitting, because it's the Hell Tour, remember, is weekly points instead of the whole thing. So he might run a bunch of the Hell Tour, come back. But let me ask you this. We'll put this on record, Bert. A quick question. Will he be driving for MB in 2024? Not that he won't be driving a car built by him, but will he be the house driver doing the same thing he's doing this year in 2024?
I mean, I have no inside information. I don't have any sources or anything, but I would say no, he won't be driving that car next year.
I would agree. You were going to say?
I was just going to say, I mean, they're definitely struggling, but both you and I and race fans in the area know that he can wheel a race car. So, right. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have the talent to be competitive and challenge for wins and that sort of thing. There's just something missing right now.
And some people are like, oh, IMBs are junk on the national scene. Well, a car is a car, right? I mean, they build a good race car. It's not like they're idiots, I mean, come on. Everybody talks, oh, Longhorn, oh, Rocket, but, there's other cars that win races. I think it's just a matter of taking your lumps, right, being out there. And I don't know their budget and their situation. I don't know all that. But, if a person wants to accelerate your learning curve on that level, you got to be racing on that level every week, multiple times a week. You can't be racing, we're going to race some national stuff 3 shows a month. I mean, that ain't going to get it done. That's not even fair to the kid, because what that's going to do, Bert, that's going to wreck him, right? All of a sudden, he's racing these big shows. He goes to like one big show a month. He gets his ass handed to him, right? And now in the back of a driver's mind, it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm not cut out to race with these guys. Maybe I just need to stick local. No, that ain't fair. Don't throw a guy to the freaking wolves once a month. If you're going to want to go race national stuff, you race freaking national stuff. Give this kid a fighting chance. That's my thoughts, because I think they're doing a big disservice to him. So I talked to Josh about that to some extent, and we both agree that is not a good deal. He's probably getting hurt as a result of this, because confidence is a big deal.
And I mean, you as a racer, and I mean, I don't want to say I dabbled in go-kart racing and stuff
you
like
have
that.
a steering wheel.
But if you don't have that, well, it's any sport. If you don't have the confidence, it's gonna affect your performance. I mean, I played baseball, and baseball is a huge confidence game. And if you go up to bat thinking to yourself, you have no chance to hit the ball, you're not going to hit the ball. So if you go to the racetrack thinking you have no chance to win the race, you're not going to win the race.
Right. 100%. And then Brad from Minnesota sent me one. He said, should scorers, right? We talked about stick signals and all this stuff, right? But when they have the Delaware restart, leaders out front, okay? And then the scorer, right, is announcing in the headset, second place, choose in or out. Okay, everybody else fall into place. Well, some scorers, right, are like, okay, 32 out front, 44 pick high or low. Okay, 44 went high, 28 go low, right? So then they're kind of saying where they're going. Should they do that? That's kind of almost like tipping off, right? Tipping off the person that was out front. Because if the second place guy picked high, now you're thinking in your mind as a leader, well, if the second place guy picked high, maybe that's a place to be. I think that it should be, right? If you're a race director, if you're listening to this, leader out front, second pick high or low, everybody else fall into place. You don't need to say another freaking word. People know where to go, right? Let them fall into place. You don't need to be tipping off the leader. Huge advantage to the leader. Thoughts?
I see what you're saying, and I never thought of that, but yeah, I mean, I guess if you wanted to be completely fair, if that's the right word to say, yeah, that's the way it should be done.
And it ain't a big deal. I mean, I had a headset anyway, and my pit guy was like, so and so. I'm just kidding. I did not have that. So there's a lot of word on the street. There's word on the street of some top tier late model teams talking about the stick signals, Bert. Some of them are saying now that the stick signals are actually decoys. Like they're using them, they're doing their thing, but actually they're communicating, they're talking to their driver. Because you have earbuds, right? And I always wore one. I had one earbud for my receiver in my left ear. The right side I left open because I just, for whatever reason, I like to be able to hear what's coming up over here. Word on the street is some drivers are actually wearing the receiver in the one ear, and they're actually wearing another Bluetooth device in their right ear, and like their pit guy or somebody's actually on the phone with them actually during the time, not on the radio, but on the phone. So they're actually talking to them on the phone, and they're saying, okay, go high, go low, go to the middle. I don't know if that's happening or not, but there's a lot of rumors going on about that. Wow. I can tell you right now, there's people that I physically saw at some of our local tracks. There was a gentleman that wore the same headset that I wear in my truck, and miraculously his driver would be out on the racetrack, and he'd be talking on top of the trailer. Weird, right? So I'm telling you that happens for sure. There's not even a question.
I mean, if the technology is there to do that, I'm sure people have tried or are doing it. Yeah, I never even thought of that, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get to a place like Cedar Lake where cell phone signal ain't quite as good. Maybe it's not as big of a deal. So I mean, yeah, you need to get one of them blockers in the area. Piss off every fan there. Like no cell phone service at the racetrack.
It'll be. Can you hear me now?
Right. All right, let's jump into a little who's hot, who's not. Bert, who do you got? Who's hot?
Nationally, I'm going to go with RTJ. It's just amazing the strides that he has made in that late model over the last few years. We knew he was a good driver, and he could win a race, here. He could win a race there if everything went right and stuff. Where, you know, now you expect, you watch a Lucas race and you expect him to be in the front or near the front every race.
Right. Absolutely. And nationally for me, I'm going to go Donnie Schatz, right? You never really write off the 10-time champ. I mean, he doesn't forget how to drive a race car. He's one of the best to ever strap into a sprint car, for sure. But he just looked meh. He looked like he was just kind of going through the motions for a good chunk of the season. We're about a quarter of the way through. He gets to Eldora, he looked good. Next thing you know, he's been like, I think his average finish over the last several now was like 4. They were saying back-to-back wins this weekend, and he actually looked really good doing it. So Donnie Schatz, hopefully he stays hot. Anybody locally?
Locally, I have 2. I already talked about Tanner Westfall, 4-cylinder driver who won the $1,400 this past week. Won the first 2 features at Shawano. Won the last 3 championships at Shawano. So he's on my hot list. And then I'm gonna put Mike Mullen on there also. I believe he finished 6th in the Dirt Kings race at Red Cedar. And then Saturday night he won the IMCA modified feature at 141 Speedway. And then Sunday night he won the IMCA modified feature at the Berg in Luxembourg, Wisconsin. So 2 feature wins and a 6th place in a late model. So
yeah, that's a solid weekend. He's fun to watch. Locally, I'm gonna go with the Wolverine, Justin Vogel. Right, that's my pick to win the 2023 Wasota Street Stock National Title. 3 wins this weekend, Bert. Fiesta City Speedway, Viking Speedway, Granite City Motor Park. Zeuli's under the hood in the 10 ride. Great weekend for him. In the Superstock division, Team Canada, Cole Chernosky. Like I said, in his last 4 trips to the States, 2nd at the Red Clay from the 4th row. 3 straight wins here to start out the season. I'm telling you, if that cat decides that he's going to come down and run some Friday, Saturday stuff, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday stuff during the summer, Sobraski, Dexon Cook, Trevor Nelson, you boys got company, because this kid is flat out a wheel, man. So Cole Chernosky is on my hot list. Who's not?
I have 2 national drivers on my not hot list. And first I'm going to go with Superman. I'm not sure what's happened to him. I mean, he's not even, the last few races, he's not even running near the front. I mean, he's running.
Bert, when you're an NFL guy, when a good player gets put on the cover of Madden, what happens?
The Madden curse, yeah.
Well, he had that great documentary. Thoroughly enjoyed it, right? He's been absolutely a dumpster fire ever since. It's the curse. Like, drivers, if you got stuff going on and somebody wants to do a documentary with you, right, during your racing season, just flat out say not interested and move on with your day, because it is going to jinx you. And I think that's happening right now to JD. He's going to have to do some kind of exorcism or something to get them demons away from his race car. Talk to Bloomquist. He'd probably help you with the alien type stuff. Not sure what to do.
Yeah, you'll be gone for a few days.
Go into a darkness retreat like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. And then my other driver is T-Mac. He's just he's never been one of those drivers who just goes out and wins race after race after race. We've talked about this. He kind of nickels and dimes you throughout the season to win championships, but something seems to be off just a little bit this year.
And he is in contention. He showed some speed this weekend, and then he dipped it right off the top of the track and went backwards. So I'm going to go Sheldon Hodenschild, right? He's just, last year, it's like we were picking him. Somebody was picking him every week. He was so fun to watch, hustling the high side, contending to win races. Last year, it seemed like the thing that was keeping him back, he'd blow right rear tires or crash, but he was always fast. And there's only been a couple races this year where I'm like, he's back. And then all of a sudden it's like, where'd he go? So Sheldon Hodenschild in the sprint cars.
Well,
anybody locally?
I think Puka was picking them every week, but I think that was because of the hat thing.
That's probably accurate. Probably the hat. Yep. Speaking of that, Scott Teefs, the announcer for the Challenge Series, dude wears a visor.
Oh, really?
He wears a visor. That's the second person I've seen at the racetrack with a visor. So the Challenge Series announcer, Puka, that's your boy. That's your guy.
I did not write down a local driver.
So you're kind of a wuss.
Yeah.
You know what I call it? So you're not trying to help people, is what you're trying to say. Because when we put people on the non-hot
I didn't
list,
think of it that. I didn't.
Bert don't like to help
way.
people. He's thinking in his mind, "Oh, I'm going to call them out, hurt their feelings." No, we call you out. We're doing you a favor.
All right, next week I'll have a local driver pick.
All right, so I'm just going to put it out there right now. Shane Sabraski's done washed up in the Superstock. He might not win another race. 0 for 3 this weekend. Terrible, right? Absolutely been awful. He's got one race, one win in like, I don't know, 10 tries or whatever, 7 in the Super. Getting his butt kicked, right? I don't really know. I think he broke this weekend at Granite. He started on the front row, went backwards, washed up, done. It's over. Absolutely. Okay, let's relax. It's probably not over, but I don't know what the hell's wrong with the 7-8 because he does not look like he was dominant last year, and he looks human, right? I mean, average. He looks. I mean, it's still Shane Sabraski, but come on, guy, right? Sabraski, not hot list. See if we can awaken a sleeping giant. So, Bert, last week's picks here.
I heard you had a good week last week, right?
I had an offer. Speaking of not hot, am I in your not hot list?
You can be my local not hot, I guess.
All right, buddy. You're gonna light shit up this weekend. Then I needed that. I needed that little boost. So a little recap from last week's picks. Before we do that, a little shout out to our friend Brad Parson, Egg Solutions. If you're Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, if you're a farmer, we know one thing: having the right products in your spray packages is going to yield better results. What does better results mean? Better yield, or what does it mean? Better yields, more profitability. That's what that means. He's got the numbers. He's got the data. It's not like he's just trying something. He's been doing this for a number of years, right? And the people that are using his products are seeing big results. Don't take my word for it. Give Brad a call, 320-219-3542. Again, 320-219-3542. Talk to Brad. Get the data. Get the information, and maybe try out a portion of your land to see if you can get better results here in 2023. So last week, Bert, we started out, we picked the Castro Flow Racing Night in America races. They had a pair of them, Marshalltown, Davenport. Marshalltown, that place is freaking awesome. They were hustling the high side there. Hudson O'Neill was just, I mean, they were banging the boards. They were like right at the wall. I thought they were going to clip that wall coming off of 4. Bobby Pierce got second. Curtis, Dan, Carl, all had Huddy. 2 points for them, guys. Davenport Speedway, the one-man band. He's feast or famine, ain't he? It's like he's either winning or he's 82nd. Well, Dan and Carl had Huddy in that one. Huddy got second. 1 point. Donkey award to my dumbass, right? Because I've been picking Huddy pretty much religiously over the last month. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to kind of get off the Huddy train, and all of a sudden, well, that's 3 points I flat out gave away.
Wow.
That's called stupidity right there. I should not have done it.
I picked Huddy for the next race, and then he sucked ass. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. So the points in the Castro deal right now: Hudson O'Neill, Bobby Pierce, Brandon Shepard, T-Mac is 4th, and Jonathan Davenport in 5th. 33 points separate 1st and 2nd. Anything stick out to you on either one of those 2 races? I think Herb kind of just drove away, right? I mean, Huddy was kind of looking like he might have made a challenge, but he never really did. And the first night, they were whizzing on the high side.
You said that it looked like they were going to almost clip the wall. I mean, they did clip the wall a few times. If you watch, your quarter panels actually did hit the guardrail and went in, but it didn't affect the drive of the car.
You got
Well,
you got to have some big stones to run the high side at Marshalltown.
well, then I can't. I don't know if it was 5-star bodies or it was a company that makes the bodies, and they go, it's a good thing that they were using our plastic quarter panels.
Yeah, true that. So then we picked World of Outlaw sprint cars. They had a race at Attica, and then they had a race at Sharon Speedway. Attica was not real exciting, but Sharon Speedway, that race was freaking outstanding. That was a really good one. Donnie Schatz wins both of them. Night number 1, Curtis, Brad, and Dan all had Carson Macedo. Macedo got 3rd. Rico Abreu got 2nd. They got 1 point. Sharon Speedway, it was Schatz, Gravel, Sheldon Hodenchild. Actually, as hot as we have him on the not hot list, he did get a 4th and a 3rd this weekend. So not terrible, I guess. Carson Macedo and Rico. Big Bad Brad, who happy birthday, Brad. Yesterday was his birthday. So happy birthday, Big Bad Brad. He got 2 points there. He had a big week in the point standings here, too. Incidentally, Puka and Heather's anniversary yesterday, too. So
I saw that.
happy anniversary to the Lovebirds there. So the points in that, well, as you know it, Brad Sweet out front, just a little bit ahead of Gravel and Macedo. Less than 50 points separate the top 3. Schatz is now, he's in a tie for 5th, so he's kind of climbing back into the hunt. Question on the sprint cars. Can Donnie Schatz get into the conversation by the end of June to be in the title hunt?
How far back is he?
184.
I say he can get into the conversation.
And by conversation, they get into under 100 points at the end of June. There in the so high limit sprint car series. We talked about that. Young Money, Kyle Larson, kind of give him a little bit of the thumping over there.
And well, in regarding that race, I did have it on to watch it, but I really couldn't see anything.
I heard it was a good race, but yeah, like you said, I mean, crazy, moving all over the place. It was like the dustiest racetrack I've ever seen. It was unbelievably awful. But
well,
and the racing seemed like they were moving around in high, low, middle, but you'd have to kind of catch it in between the dust plumes that were flying.
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I think, and I could be wrong, I think the dust was more high, so it was bad for us watching, for the camera view, but I think it was a better view for the drivers down on the track.
Okay.
I guess I'm not positive on that, but I don't know if you saw any of it, but that track has a weird setup coming out of turn 2.
Yes.
Because there's kind of a berm that the cars push off of as they leave turn 2.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. It was like almost a cushion, but it was like a little mini hill where they'd hit that launch. And, it was hard to see, but yeah, you're exactly right.
Actually, sometimes the cars would be tilted, and it looked like they were going to roll over to the left because they would hit that little hill, and then they kind of get off balance, but then they'd push off straight. It was really weird.
And that was Wayne County Speedway in Orville, Ohio, is where that race was. First race that I've seen there. The dust sucked, but it was kind of an entertaining race. If the dust was just gone, there was plenty of racing to be had. So Curtis, Brad, and Dan had Macedo. No, they did not have Macedo. I copied and pasted there. Several of you had Kyle Larson.
I had Larson,
including you. Yeah. So that several of you had Kyle Larson there. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models, 300 Raceway, Farley, Iowa, and 34 Raceway in West Burlington? Is that what it is? RTJ won both. Night 1, Curtis had RTJ. Night 2, Brad had RTJ. I haven't mentioned my name at all here 0 times. World of Outlaw Late Models, Marion Center Speedway, Marion Center, Pennsylvania. 51 cars, great car count. The Reaper, Ryan Gustin, great run for him. Big mover in this race. Pierce went from he was plus 11 up to 5th. Tanner English 24th to 6th. Couple good runs. Bert, you had B-Shep. You had old Sheppy, got a point there. Challenge Series. I-94 EMR Speedway, the opener, the 1-2 of Bryce Sword. Great run. Like I said, the reigning champ goes Tri-State Racing, Burdick and Vang. They chose the KME Triple Crown deal. 34 cars there on night number 1. Big Bad Brad had the 44 of the Hermantown Hammer, Daryl Nelson. 1 point for him because Daryl got second. And Ogilvie on night 2, the double 1 Express Pat Door. Curtis, Brad, Dan, Carl, Bert all had Pat Door. 2 points. My dumbass, Cole Searing. Donkey Award. Cole Searing. Like, I talked to this dude. I thought, like, he's going to go to the Challenge Series. Then I pick him. And I think what he decided is, okay, Dan picked me day 1. Ryan picked me day 2. The hell with them guys. They ain't getting no points off me. I'm going a different direction. Thanks a lot, guy. Appreciate it. Okay. So let's jump into this week's picks here, Bert. Our standings right now. I had a bad week. Not good. Curtis is at 57. Jeff's at 52. Mike is at 50. I'm at 49. Brad is now 48. He like gained a bunch on everybody. Dan's at 46. Bert's at 44. Kent's at 40. Carl's at 31. So he's making some hay, but 0 points for old Rye Guy. This unbelievable. Not good. So we're gonna pick World of Outlaw Sprint Cars Friday and Saturday at Atomic, Monday at Lawrenceburg. World of Outlaw Late Models Tuesday. They're running tonight as we speak at State Line. Boom Briggs incidentally rolled in time trials. So that ain't good. That don't surprise me, but that's not good, right?
I'm sure nobody picked them.
No, we put you down for them just because. Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Sharon, which had really good racing for the sprint cars last week. Lucas Oil Late Models, Show Me 100. Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Wheatland. USMTS Mods. Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Deer Creek. They're running Monday, but I don't remember where the heck it was. I don't have it on here because we added that after, but they're running Monday as well. So a lot of races here this week to pick. Hopefully I don't get a big goose egg like I did last time. But Bert, let's jump into the last lap brought to you by our friends. Go ahead.
Before we do that, I'm a little upset because last year we picked the Dirt Kings race at Red Cedar. So, I had picked AJ Diemel in my bold prediction. And so, but I thought but I was going to. So Diemel was my driver in that race. So after that race was over, it's like, okay, cool. I got 2 points. And it's like, I'm looking at, we didn't pick this race.
If it makes you feel any better, I would have had 2 points in that as well. Because I scavenged that one from you. Because I'm like, Bert's going to take Diemel to win this deal. And I'm like, I'm going to beat him to the punch on this one right here is what I'm going to do. So we both would have had him. So yeah, that would have been it just sucked that they had the challenge series, everything going on at the same time. I mean, they both had good races, good car counts, but they could have been even better if everybody didn't run on top of each other. So the last lap brought to you by our friends at Dirt Track Supply, home of the Aero chassis. If you need tires, safety equipment, apparel, you name it, right? You need fab work done, just advice on racing, whatever it may be, get a hold of Ron and Trevor at Dirt Track Supply in Watertown. Little more news, little moving and shaking there, Bert, in the old late model action. A couple more jumping ship to a different chassis. What do we got there?
Yeah, horns up. It seems like that is definitely the popular chassis to go to. Garrett Elberson announced that he was going there, and is it Garrett Smith?
Yep.
So both Garretts.
Both Garretts. Yep,
you have to be a Garrett to and then you'll race a Longhorn. So yeah, they both announced that they're switching to Longhorns. Elberson said that he'll be in a Longhorn by the first part of June. He's in a Black Diamond right now. I read the press release, and basically he feels that for him to take the next step in his program, he needs to make this move to Longhorn. He feels that he'll be more consistent. that's what he means by taking the next step. He's too inconsistent right now, and he wants to get into a situation where he's more consistent.
Did it say if he's getting a Wells Longhorn or where he's going? Is it straight from Longhorn? Or is it...
I did not notice if it said specifically where he's getting it from.
Okay. Little late model action here. So World of Outlaw rained out. They're supposed to run at Port Royal on Saturday. As soon as that canceled, a couple drivers made a trip down to Muskingum Speedway, and I think that's in Ohio, and a first-time winner from Charlotte, North Carolina, the thrill from Mooresville, Nick Hoffman, won the XR Working Man Series event, 10,000 a win. So Hoffman finally taking home a victory in the late model division. Pretty cool deal. Jump on XR Plus to catch those races. They did have another one the next night, and Turbo won the following night. So he's been kind of struggling, but Turbo finding his way back to victory lane. Another 10,000 to win race for him. So Bert, you want a good laugh? Well, I guess humor is the best, right? So you got to jump on the Hoosier Racing Tires Facebook page. Did you look at that? I tagged you in those comments.
Yeah, you tagged me. I did take a look at it and read some of the comments.
First of all, why on God's green earth is Hoosier advertising or even posting anything on social media? It's a monopoly, right? Like literally there's only like a handful of dirt like sanctions that don't run Hoosier. Like everybody runs Hoosier. That would be like them saying, look, here's the deal. Here's how good Hoosiers are, Bert. Every Wasota feature since its began has been won on Hoosier Racing Tires. Well, no shit. Really? Like, that's like saying, boy, all the IMCA national champions last year, Bert, they all ran Hoosier. I mean, literally, they're making posts, excellence and this and that and the other, and people are just hammering them. I just grabbed a box of popcorn, sat down, and I'm like, I'm going to read through these comments because y'all got to jump on there. Hoosier Racing Tire, they have a few posts on there. You'll see one with a pile of shares. Do yourself a favor, right? Give yourself a half hour, an hour, right? Bathroom break at work, and just read them comments because it is some of the funniest shit you'll ever see. There's some pretty good ones in there that are worth looking at, and it's like, there's. Let's just say this, Bert. I kind of picked on old Hoosier a little bit here, I guess, after the national banquet. I think it's become a little bit obvious that I'm not the only one that kind of had that opinion of Hoosier. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying either that or I have, I don't know, a couple thousand fake Facebook accounts. One or the two. You decide which one it is. But they got shredded. Let's just put it that way. So our predictions here, Bert, a little recap before we do a little shout out. Our main IT guy, right? The guy that does all the editing for us, Mason Aaron's videos. Jump onto YouTube, check out his stuff. There's a lot of great stuff for the sport. A lot of really cool B-roll stuff behind the scenes. Really fun to watch. The standings, before we get into that, we had a few things, Bert, come off the board here this last week. Both of us had two that were wrong and two that were right. Both of us did. Bert, you said a Pennsylvania driver would win at least one of the World of Outlaw late model features this weekend. I know you only got one shot because one rained out, but it was not won by a PA guy, so that's a no. You said Ty Majeski would win the ASA race at North Wilkesboro. What place did he finish?
10th.
10th? Still
10th.
Decent.
Well, and he started like 24th or 26th because he posted in the last practice that he just threw away the lap. They didn't try to go the fastest. Well, qualifying got rained out, so then they went by practice laps to make the feature, and so he had to take a provisional to get into the race, and I believe he finished 10th then.
Okay. Well, you did have a couple that were right, though. Illinois drivers would win three of four at the Illinois Speed Weeks. saved, right, Bert? Saved by a postponed feature. If they would have canceled that, that would not have been the case. But you got her. Nick Anvilink will be on the podiums at the Dirt King opener. At first, when I saw that, I'm like, Bert is screwed. He's starting 12th.
Yeah.
Pretty tough to get to the top three, and he charged a second. He almost won that thing. I said, Tristan LaBarge is going to win the opening night in the Superstocks at Hibbing. He led till a caution with like 4 to go and let his cousin win. Thanks a lot, guy. Appreciate it. He did win in Proctor. That didn't do me any good. Hudson O'Neill will have the best average finish during the Illinois Speed Weeks. Well, he may have until he decided about knock the wall down that one night, and that ended that right there. Pat Noor wins at least one Challenge Series race this weekend, and it come down to a last corner, last-ditch effort to sneak by young gun Josh Zimpel to get it done. And I said at least one driver from our picks will double up this weekend. RTJ and Donnie Schatz both doubled up this weekend, so that was good. And then old Jeff, I don't think he has this one down here, but I actually have 3 because I said AJ Diemel was going to win the Dirt Kings opener, and Jeff didn't put this one in the credit there, so our numbers are going to be a little off here. 18. You're on your phone, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I can get a calculator.
Yeah, get a calculator here. 18 divided by 53.
33.9%.
All right. I'm gaining on you, Bert, because you're at 40%. I'm at 33.9. It was looking really bleak, but slowly but surely, I'm kind of reeling you in here. So this week's 3, Bert. This week's 3. So fans, if you haven't seen this before, what we do is we make 3 predictions every week. Typically racing, could be sports, right? But mostly racing. And it's got to be something that either flat out did or did not happen. Okay. And we decide if we get them right, wrong, we're keeping track. And what do you got?
All right. First one I have is a Minnesota driver will be on the podium at least 2 of the USMTS nights at Deer Creek.
A Minnesota driver will be on the podium at least 2 of the nights at Deer Creek. Okay. I thought you were going to snipe me there, but you didn't. I specifically have Jim Chisholm will be on the podium at least once this weekend at Deer Creek. Okay. So I went with a one podium, but with a more specific driver. You went with the slew of Minnesota drivers twice.
Right.
So Jim Chisholm will be on the podium at least once. I have. By the way, the listeners, Bert, they're at 0% right now. They're sucking it up, right? We've had a few send in some stuff. Jeff sent me one. I have it down. I think Jeff said, and if I'm wrong, he can correct me on this. Jeff said that the Lucas Oil race at the Stromy, that event as a whole, will have more late models than the World of Outlaw race at Sharon, the World of Outlaw event at Sharon. So that's his prediction there. I think he does have that flip-flopped, but we'll find out. So, what do you got next?
I'm going back to, I kind of made this prediction already, but I'm going back to it. Since the Dirt Kings will actually be at Shawano this weekend, there'll be at least 25 late models at Shawano on Saturday night for the Dirt Kings race.
So I'm going Dirt Kings too, Bert. Sniping you, kind of.
You may be sniping me.
Well, Bam Dirt Kings race at Seymour and Shawano this week.
Oh.
Your reigning and defending champion, Nick Anvilink, is going to double up.
You sniped me. That was my 3rd one.
Yeah! Come on, Nick Anvilink, get her done, buddy. Now you have to put a little thinking cap on there. All right.
I will go with I picked him to win, and I talked about him in the not hot, but I will go T-Mac will win the Show Me 100 at Wheatland this weekend.
The finale, the main event?
The finale event.
Okay. I'll go Wheatland too. The slump ends. Superman Jonathan Davenport will win at least one feature over the Show Me 100 weekend at Wheatland. So yours is more of a home run. Mine is more of a single out in the right field. So, all right. Well, there you have it, Bert. Anything else you want to add here? I guess I do real quick, but first I'll let you, I guess. Is there anything else you want to add here rolling into Memorial Day weekend?
Just obviously it's a holiday weekend, but I want everybody just to be aware of why this is a holiday weekend, and please remember that during the weekend, because without those who gave their lives for this country, we wouldn't be able to enjoy racing and many other things.
Well said, 100%. I echo them sentiments. Puka told us to mention we do have apparel. We have hats, we have hoodies, we have t-shirts. I said, you need to get you in the better half there to kind of model them, post some pictures up so people can see this stuff. But if you're looking for apparel, go ahead, hit us up in the comments, hit us up in the Facebook Messenger or whatever. And, he has all the information on that. Puka's kind of in control of that side of things. Also, if you're looking for a more in-depth, like what happened over this past week in Wasota country, be sure to check out all of our recap and power ranking shows. They came up last weekend. Our initial installment of the power rankings for all the classes came out. Top 10s. There's a couple interesting ones in there. Got a few comments along the way. Check those out. Check out our Blast to the Past episode coming out the end of the week. Episode 178, right? So that means number 78, 178. We got some pretty fun things we're going to do there. So thanks to all of our sponsors.
I do have one other thing. I forgot to mention this during my Eastern Wisconsin recap, and I think I should mention it because it just shows how close the racing community is. On Saturday, a longtime race fan who was at Shawano Speedway every week during the summer, she lost her battle with cancer. And for the national anthem, all the cars went out onto the track to make a lap in her memory. So it just shows how close of a family the racing community is. So obviously, our thoughts and prayers are with her family, and it was a very moving tribute.
We all complain about the cost and this, that. We're all critical of everything, right? But it's not a career. It's not a business. It's not even a hobby. Racing is a lifestyle. And that just shows right there that it's a big family. So well said there, Bert. So 178 in the books. I got to get back on the road. It's been an interesting week. So I got to get kind of hustling here. She's a little bit late. So I'm going to probably not get as much sleep as I hope tonight. But it is what it is. But Bert, always fun chatting with you. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully everybody's responsible and safe, has a lot of fun. Get out to your favorite racetrack. And if you have any comments or whatever, just shoot them our way. And thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.